So, before I start, I pray that everyone is protected from any of my ignorance. May my ignorance not taint you in any way, but if I have anything good to disseminate to you, may that reach you. Okay, so now thinking about the similarities between Botticelli's Venus and the Star card, I also want to invoke gently the image of the Empress card in the tarot, even though technically it's associated more with the Taurus side of Venus and not as much the Libra. Okay, I want you to keep that in mind gently. So now the Empress card is fecund, abundant, generative, right? And akin to that, well, why do we call it the birth of Venus, even though she's fully formed and an adult? So the stage that it's more likely to signify at this point is a graduation of sorts from the stage of being a maiden into the zone of being mother, even before she's bearing children. The mother talks about more agency, autonomy, more embracing of one's sexuality, for instance. And then the third stage is the crone. So the birth of Venus is, signaling that graduation, fresh from maidenhood, onto the shores of like serious business femininity. And it's taking place in the daytime. Just like the Empress card. In the Empress card, she's wearing a crown of stars. I want you to keep that image in your mind. And in Botticelli's Venus, there's others around her as well, There's external elements. So she, in her own right, she's on this shell being washed up to the shore. And there's the wind god Zephyr with Chloris, who's blowing her to the safety of the shore. Now Zephyr talks about is basically a messenger of spring, said to be the gentlest of the wind gods, and to the other side, she's being there's an attendant that's trying to get her all covered up. That too in spring colors again. So again, it spring colors, as in I think the pattern that's on the robe that they're trying to put on her features flowers. So there's that bloom, that abundance that we see referenced in that Empress card. The Empress card, she's pregnant in it as well. So I suppose that's one degree of graduation more. The Empress card is a little bit more advanced than the image of Botticelli's Venus, but for sure in either of those elements there's a bit of external focus there. There's a lot going on. Her beauty is captivating, the external beauty is captivating, and she's engaging with all these elements. Now, as opposed to the Star card, where she's doing something very senseless. She's taking water out of a pot and pouring that back into the earth. And who's ever tried to do that? Does that make any sense to you conceptually? Do you ever picture yourself doing this? Let's hydrate the earth with some water. And like, not for gardening purposes, of course. We don't know what she's doing there with those pots. Of course, there's that standard image of Aquarius where the pot is said to represent, like for example, in Hindu culture, when someone passes away, we we go around the body that's being cremated and then break the clay pot that symbolizes the vessel of the human body. And when that clay pot smashes, it represents that, the material has lost its hold on the spirit, and the spirit is being released back now. So the star card, similarly, it's happening in a more timeless vein. If you think in terms of the stars that are on the Empress's crown, those stars now go back up into the night sky, and a really large one of them being 8-pointed. And now 8 points, the number 8 corresponds to more prominently Saturn, but I've also heard it be a reference to Rahu. And what is the property of the number 8? You add it to any number, it reduces by 1 in total. So for example, 8, like 0, 8, 8, the total is 8, but you add another 8 to it, it becomes 16, and 1 plus 6 is 7. And then you add 8 more to that, it becomes 24. 2 plus 4 is 6. So it's kind of on the diminishing side, if you're catching my drift. I've heard that be attributed to Rahu as well. And she's discarded her crown here. It's gone back. The stars have gone back up into the night sky. There's a disregard for titles here, and a connection to timelessness. Where a woman can, whatever stage she is, she can borrow from maiden, mother, or crone, regardless of what stage she is in life, based on how connected she is to that universal reservoir of knowledge. And in here, I do believe in the star card, with her hair being left open like that, her body being surrendered so totally to the elements. It's a way of honoring the crone, because it's really the crone stage where a lot of women find that empowerment come in, that, I'm going to disregard appearances a little bit. I'm going to live for myself. I'm going to figure out how I can interact with pleasure instead of just being an object for like a sense object or the receiver of someone's gaze. Like, you really come into your own at that time. But you don't have to wait for that stage in life. You can just borrow from that autonomy, that wisdom. And that's something that I do believe the star card shows us, and there's tremendous healing power in that. Because what she's doing there is like a give and take. She's taking from the atmosphere. She's kind of pouring her. So the pot kind of symbolizes her, like her agency as an individual, as a solitary individual, and she's kind of pouring that back to the earth, and in a way trying to connect with the element in a more deep way. And the night sky too, with all the stars, it invokes the image of, if you know nakshatras, it invokes that image of Shatabhisha Nakshatra, which talks about the 100 healers. In order to heal something or someone, you have to be intimate with the ailment, or it doesn't make sense. A person who's never been depressed a day in their life, if they tell you something about being happy, I'm sure you see that they come from a place of being well-meaning, but they can be tone deaf. They can even be irksome and hurtful to you. But a person that's lived through certain challenges and they've come out on the other side of it, it reflects in their whole body language. It reflects in their whole being. In our day and age, we oversell the value of just marketing something and faking it till we make it. And I'm sure confidence matters a lot, but I'm saying there's an alchemy involved with coming out the other side. when you say the only way is through. That collective power is represented by Aquarius, that healing energy. And why it's nighttime is because, well, daytime, again, is not really the playground of the feminine. The nighttime, which is much more confusing. If, again, you think about the moon card, everyone's going batshit crazy in that moon card. Those dogs don't know what to do with themselves. They don't know what's illusion, what's real, what's not. You really have to listen deeply. And that's what she's doing in this utterly vulnerable state. There's an attempt at balancing her fears with adventuring by just being out in the dark, being surrounded by no one. Is she taking part in an ancient rite? Is she waiting on her other sisters? What is she going to go and do the next day? What does her daily routine look like after this kind of event? She's doing something very numinous here. And Rahu does have that otherworldly energy as well. So, those are some things to think about, This might still be incomplete, but I will add thoughts as and when they come to me. I try and make things as instantaneously as possible, so not to let it drag. Oh, also, the 8-pointed star is associated with Inanna or Ishtar from the Sumerian, Mesopotamian pantheons. I've always associated Ishtar, Inanna, to be a different version of goddess Durga. Although some people will say that she reminds them of Lakshmi as well, because on account of her having a sister who rules the underground. So Lakshmi has Alakshmi and Ishtar has Ereshkigal. But that's a different story for a different time. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Please leave a comment if you like.